It's a journalistic record. It's like reading my journals, basically, through song. I want to write down for you why I love Cajun music so much, but it's hard for me to say. I listen to it carefully on the way home from work, trying to put my finger on why it touches me. I was listening to tapes from your house when we cooked and everyone came over. I don't know whether I'm a ghost who's been roaming around looking to return to Louisiana, but when I hear this music, it's the way it feels like I'm home again. Every night I'm dreaming about Louisiana now that I'm back in Richmond. I care so much for people. I know Marc is haunting me every night. Marc makes me feel safe, proud, secure, and there are no lies told, no promises made. I might be able to leave behind all of this intellectual decadence, but could I remain stimulated by the French and the music in the other world? I don't really think I could take a long absence from Marc. Thinking about this project, and it's just all the memories of my life are in here. And I can remember I said, I wonder what I did. I can go back and look and read about that, and just, it's been an amazing journey returning, to these stories that I did and what, I'd forgotten a lot of things. I glued in albums I like, Bob Dylan, The Byrds, Simon and Garfunkel. So this is the Switzerland Journal when I was 15, the second one. And it tells all about my life in Switzerland. And I had this incredible experience. I met Paul McCartney when I was 15, I mean. He showed us this shirt he had painted. On the back it said, "All You Need Is Love," their new song. He played their new record to go along with it, Sgt. Pepper album. He had the press cut of it and played it for us. Can you believe that? I made the dress, this is supposed to be me. I made the dress out of maps of places I lived, London and Paris, in the era I was singing these songs. So it's maps that make the fabric. And she's holding a heart that has pictures of my past life, a collage of it. And then I love white lilies. And there's my guitar, and there's a cardinal. I'd like this record to express the journey of my life, like starting when I got a guitar and listening to records on my little turntable. And so I was just reaching back, like, what music did I love at that time? And I've had the honor to re-record it. It's like, I'm going to record these songs that made my life,
Tarnished beads on tapestry, kept in satin boxes are reflections of love's memories. Letters from across the sea, roses dipped in sealing wax, valentines and...
But this is my dad's college notebook, and it's, just things in life, pressed flowers. And speaking of which, that song, Tin Angel, talking about sealing wax and pressed flowers and all, that's why my pressed flowers are still in here, falling out. But all of that is me. That song is me. And it's in these journals are that song.
Dark with darker moods is he, not a golden prince who's come.
I like the idea of this is a young girl who's been writing letters and stamping them with sealing wax and pressing flowers, and she sort of was waiting for the blonde, handsome prince to come and rescue her, like a young woman's vision of love. And yet she meets a dark, moody man who's hard, and this is like not at all what a young girl expects. This is dark, moody man. And I find I always choose dark, moody men. See, I often end up with very moody, unusual people.
I know the way that I feel about you.
The second song on the album is A Heart Needs a Home. That is a song that I heard Linda Thompson sing. It was written by Richard Thompson, and I just love the words of that, and I related to it a lot because I think that, we're all looking for one person that we can feel safe with that's not going to run out, not leave you, a person that you could feel comfortable with, you could settle into a relationship with. And then finally, you're going to find one that you're going to go, that feels like home.
I came to you when no one could hear me. I'm sick and weary.
I think my children all grew up believing they could do anything, and especially my daughters, they see that just because you're a woman, it doesn't mean you have to just sit in the house and, cook and clean your house and take care of the children. Their lives were huge because I was always out and about doing stuff and doing photography and playing music and, had a dark room and was, all that stuff. They saw that could be a part of a mother and a wife too. Living here, it's been so much a Cajun influence. That's why I made this record, because it's non-Cajun. I'd made, 15 Cajun albums, or more. And then I started thinking, well, wait a minute. I'm from an English-speaking culture. So then I made jazz records. I made the record with Linda. And then this one is my real Richmond persona. I had brought my mom here to convince her, my Richmond, Virginia mother, and she steps out of the car and her foot lands on a giant fish head, this giant rotten fish head. And the windows are all broken out. And so we walk in the backyard. I said, Mom, I could fix it up, I promise. We walk in the backyard and there's this tin full of blood with a sheep head floating in it. And pigs are running around in the yard and fighting cocks were in cages.
Out in the country with the mud and the pigs, there won't be no sequins tonight. I thought I would have the time of my life, but there won't be no sequins tonight. No glitter, no glamour, no shots at...
And then it became her favorite place to be once we made it cozy.
Shots here are from shotguns in the yard.
What possessed you to start journaling? Like, what were you thinking how old were you, and what were you thinking when you first started?
I think I probably started when my father died, I'm guessing. And just to talk to, somebody to talk to. He collected antique rifles, stuff like that, but he got me into antiques big time. And he would read me Edgar Allan Poe all the time. He loved Edgar Allan Poe. We'd sit on the porch and he would just read to us that book. He loved that, all his stories. So that had a kind of macabre, Gothic influence on my life, seriously. My father passed away when I was 13 years old. He just dropped dead of a heart attack all of a sudden. It was really devastating. So my mother said, let's move to Switzerland, because she had a friend that lived in Switzerland. And so I hated the French language at that time. I was like, I don't want to learn French. I like Spanish. So I was forced into learning French fast. And so then I became madly in love with the French language.
C'est péché de dire et montrer. Millions de cœurs ont été cassés quand ces paroles ont été parlées. We custom, si connaissem, si ti casse mon cœur, ça va me tuer. Sois sûr, c'est vrai.
My mother was an art major, and so we had to go see everything she'd studied in art school. So we went to every great work of art in Europe. It was the most amazing art education. And her little Volkswagen, we drove all over. And that was hugely, made a huge impression on all of us. Came back to Richmond, Virginia, feeling kind of like, okay, here we are. But I always liked Richmond. Just came back and played the guitar and met all these crazy art friends of mine and learned photography and fell in love a couple of times and went to college at Mary Baldwin and went to junior year abroad in Paris. So the French thing carried through. A lot of these songs I used to play in Richmond and coffee, like the Prism in Charlottesville and the coffee houses in Richmond, the Carey Street Coffee House. And I just thought, I want to revisit that music. I love that music. I love playing it. I haven't touched it for years, that kind of music. I hadn't done any of that at all. It's like I buried it for about 40 years. I never touched it. And then thought, I'm going back there. So I just wanted to go back to that person just to see her again.
Dirty old river, must you keep rolling, rolling into the night? People so busy, makes me feel dizzy. Taxi light shines so bright, and I don't need
To be in Richmond, it feels like home. I feel like I have two homes now, but of course where you're born, there's this huge connection. You can't help that, I lived in all of this area a lot when I was after college. This is called the Fan District. My family's been in Virginia since 1605, and they came on the boat called the Speedwell. I love the people. It's got a very interesting art scene, which I'd say all of my friends in Richmond are photographers, painters, or musicians. It's a great inspiration my whole life living here.
the breeze blowing careful, the river scared to flow, as if some lost secrets bound to be told, to be told.
I feel like I don't know where to go. There's some things that are so important to me in Richmond, and they might be left behind forever. What do I want to do? Do I want to follow my career in Richmond or follow my dreams in Louisiana? This is sort of the symbol of Richmond, this giant bottle of milk, and people live in there. There's something anciently, supremely humorous about Richmond, in the best of ways. This morning we went over to the milk bottle down across from the Quirk Hotel, and now they've painted the bottom of it white, but this is a print by Raleigh. Isn't that a beautiful print of it?
Oh, yeah.
Love it. So I worked in Monroe Park as a gardener, and Willie Ann took these pictures of me in my heart working as a gardener in Monroe Park, which we didn't get to yet. That's what I used to do to make money to buy records and guitars and to have an apartment downtown. This is Raleigh in his youth. This is the way Raleigh looks when I met him. We have all changed a lot. Me as a folk singer.
Some things never change.
I'd go to this library, and my friend that we're going to visit, Raleigh Powell, said, Ann, you got to stop listening to commercial folk music. He said, you have to go find the source. Shanty men and shanty boys. All of those songs that were written so long ago, that the stories, the subject matter, is always, you can apply it to your life or anything that is happening nowadays. And I also love the magic in them. Two Sisters. It's a very strange song about two sisters are jealous because there's a man and he likes one of the sisters and not the other one. And so she decides to kill the sister the guy likes because she likes the guy too. So that she pushes her in the river and she drowns and floats down the river. And the miller sees her body floating by. He drags her body out, and when the bones are there, he makes the fiddle pegs out of the bones of her fingers, and for the hair on the bow, he uses her hair. But the only song that fiddle would ever play was the song of the wind and the rain, which is a sad, haunting minor song. These are the stories that they just give you chills. There are all these strange stories like that. come and sit and overlook the river and just hang out and talk. You know, it's just a beautiful view of the crashing wave, you know, the white water rapids of the James River, and it's up on a hill and it's real quiet and a lot of beautiful statues and things. It just was a nice place to hang out, like a beautiful park, really. You can hook your window tight and it still comes blowing in. So I will climb the highest hill and I'll watch the rising sun. And I'll pray that I don't feel the chill till I'm too old to die young. Let me watch my children grow to see what they become. Lord, don't let that cold wind blow till I'm too old to die young. It's like every stability within me came from Richmond, Virginia. I think in a large part it was just a foundation. A lot of beauty was given to me here, and you know, visually and personally. And I can't forget that. What's left of them are these teardrops in my eyes. Let me watch my. We're now going to one of my major mentors of my life's house, who taught me. His name is Raleigh Powell, and he taught me how to do photography, lent me musical instruments, lent me cameras, and let me a lot of Folkways records, which I never would have heard or found without him. He's a doctor too. And a character, Maximosis.
This is a very solid electric guitar. And she called it Teen-R, after Tina, but Teen-R. He made a special trip to buy our booties at Kmart.
So Raleigh was when I met him, he'd show me how to set up a dark room, and he had to build your own sink. He built his own sink and his shelves and all that, and explained the whole thing to me.
These sinks are 50 years old. Came from another house.
No matter where Raleigh goes, he sets up an enormous dark room like this.
Oh, I made this for you last night.
Oh my gosh, I love that picture. This is me. Raleigh took this when I lived on Stewart Avenue.
1975.
In my bohemian pad.
2 years before Cajunism got her.
And world whisked me away to Louisiana, never to be seen again. There were no other Cajun women musicians when I moved here. Maybe Cheryl Cormier. I mean, you did not see that at all. That had a big influence, I think, in a positive way. I think a lot of young women, when they saw me in an entirely male-dominated musical culture, on the stage playing with Marc Savoy and Michael Doucet, you know, they were like, I could do that. This book came out, and then every Cajun nut in the world had to have it, you know, like, not like me. We all had to have, you know, they call it the Cajun Bible. This is the Cajun Bible. When I first moved to Louisiana, I saw so many beautiful things. I mean, like, I met all these characters, and I started taking pictures of them. And I started a large photographic collection. And I was a photographer in Richmond, and so I was doing that here. And then I was singing Cajun music and all these words in French, and as we toured, people were like, what is that song about? What is that song about? So I thought, well, let me make a songbook. And then I thought, well, let me add my photographs. I've been working really hard doing photography. Let me put everything I can do into this book. French language, writing, photography, design. I graphically designed those books. Like, for example, you're gonna know I'm certifiably insane. The music, we just get rolls of type and I had to cut apart each syllable and glue it under the musical note. Every 105 songs. Yeah, good job. I can't believe you can sing and sing like that.
Well,
That sounds so good.
Not really.
We should do one more song and then eat some boiled crawfish. The
Yeah.
boiled crawfish are ready.
All right.
All right, a little song I wrote for, hopefully it's going to be a major rock hit in Louisiana. It's about how hot you Cajun boys are. This one's written about one in particular, no names to be mentioned. Okay. Dark tides flowing. What you think, there's just don't know it. Forgotten French words, they sound so sweet. Ooh, baby, knock me off on my feet. Gotta handle you lightly, kid. Gloves all the time. Know you sweet like a baby. Tuffles all of the time. Like a wildcat on a leash or a bird in a hand. Gotta tread lightly with your kind of man. I don't know what it is that makes your hot blood rise. Could it be those sleepy bedroom eyes? Dark thoughts growing underneath your skin. Tough as a warrior.
I knew Ann didn't want to do, like a ton of Cajun music, or this was a chance to stretch away from that, but it's also part of the story and part of the mix of who you are, and it's like, to totally put that over there wouldn't be right either. So it's all kind of, there's a bit of it in there, but more like where it fits into your entire musical life, or what you love or your history.
On this record, I think a lot of chances were taken, and many, many times in the past when I made records, it was very traditional music that we didn't want to change, or slightly taking little chances with some of the Cajun music. But this is more like, let's take this song and I heard it going wild, some of the songs. I mean, I heard them totally going crazy and ripping and having sounds. And Dirk came in and he had the sounds. He heard the same thing I was hoping. So yeah, he helped me do these songs and make them really stretch, which is what I wanted to do. I always loved taking chances in many facets of life, and I'll do them. I'll take the chances. I'll step right on in that scary dark room and see what happens.
La mer est venue dedans la nuit et elle a pris notre cher bébé.
Tri Samedi, a hurricane song, was written by me after reading an article about a horrific hurricane and the way it had devastated families. And the stories were just like nothing I'd ever heard, and I just had to write a song about it. And the melody of that song was more like an old Appalachian song I had heard somewhere, and I just put that together with a hurricane, like an old traditional song. So I kind of added Virginia to Louisiana in that song. It's written in French, and it was just about a family, and they were flooded, and they were floating on the floor of their house that had broken off through the water, and the baby fell off. The baby fell into the water and drowned, and then they found a house. They thought, let's get in there, we'll be dry. They climb into the house, it's full of snakes. It's horrific, the lyrics, but it's a true story, and I just had to write a song about it. It was to tell the cruelty of the weather here and the hurricanes in Louisiana. This is my desk since childhood that I brought here from Virginia. like this. You know, these are like amazing North Carolina things. This is a quilt my daughter made me. Each bird has 30 pieces. Can you imagine? Well, that's my great-great-grandmother. She has a hair braid necklace. And so I sit at my desk and look out at the oak and, you know, go into my reverie. These are my journals and art book. I mean, this is like my life story in journals here. The only existing photograph of Amédée Ardoin. Anyway, so I make a lot of my clothes in here because I love vintage clothing, and these are actually the patterns I like to use. They look sort of, if you could see that. An old lady had a garbage bag of these, and she gave them to me. This is actually a really famous piece. They have a piece like this at the Salem Museum in Winston-Salem. Something I like to tell people is, you know, there's so many styles of singing, and the personalities you're showing, for example, in Cajun music, the only thing you're trying to do is make the thing louder than the accordion, make your vocal stand out above the accordion and have some power and soul, but you can't have any of the delicate nuances that you would have in your, what I would call your best vocals. So that's why I just was like, wait, I want to sing that voice, those pretty songs where you could show something much more intimate, you know, like come in closer, I'm going to sing very quietly, I want to tell you something, that person, you know. But I think at this part of my life, that's where I am in my brain, in my heart. And I guess that's why I'm calling the record Another Heart, because it's that person instead of the belty Cajun girl.
Yeah, it's been. You came like on the Pokey tour for like a couple of days. I'll put it right here. There's a couple of.
So exciting! Fresh crawfish finally in. Yay! Time goes on, my love. Dirk Powell has been writing some songs, and he and I were thinking we'd like to have songs original songs that people haven't heard before on this album. It's talking about, many, many years ago in another place, and here I am today in Louisiana, and that time has gone on. I'm returning to that time. And his song says, your hearts are touched here and there, they meet, they melt, and you move on. Just how relationships are temporary, and how do you remember all of those moments?
Time goes on, my love, our hearts drift by like clouds above, meeting, merging, moving on, melting in the day's new dawn. Do you remember the sunset? Do you remember the sunrise? Do you remember
who I am is a product of my mentors, the music I've heard in my life, the art I've seen, the travel I've done, all the beauty that has been poured into my brain is the person I am. And I've had a very gifted life. So I understand that. It's like, thank you.
Meet immersion, moving on, melting in the day's new dawn. Do you remember your lover's lips? The sweetness how